Good morning, everyone. This is MightyStream, and today is Sunday, March 13th, and I'm excited to be with you today. I'm just trying to get my screens together so we can get right into the Just for Today. I am brought to you by H.O.O.D Recovery Services, Hope Offered on Demand. This is an initiative of hope through navigation. Behind me on my backdrop, you are able to see part of my Gmail. Let me bend a little bit so you can see all of it. Recovery of Hope 21 at gmail.com. So I want to encourage you, if you need to talk or you need a Zoom meeting right away, or you need to just get together with the girls, or you need the fellas in your back court. I'm not a fella, but if you need the fellas in your back court and something's going on, feel free to reach out to me. I will be so excited to reach out to some men that I know in recovery that are interested in helping others stay clean and arrange for a men's meeting for you. I would be the host, and then I would co-host, the main person leading that meeting. Or I would just host it and open everyone's mics. Um, I believe in confidentiality. That is a very serious thing as I'm learning with this degree in counseling. Confidentiality is one of the things that you want to make sure that people, when they're interacting with you, you want to make sure that they know that you're in their corner. So if you reach out to me, what's going on between us is between you and I, unless we make a decision that we want to involve others, and then we decide together who those other people will be. Whatever the case, the point is that Mighty Stream wants to bring you hope, and I want to make sure that that hope is available to you when you need it. As I indicated, I'm not available 24 hours a day. I do have a beautiful family that I love taking care of. However, I just want to make sure that you know that there are 24/7 meetings in both fellowships of recovery that you can attend. And I will leave those in the description um, comments on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. I will leave those down below. Down below in the description comments on YouTube for you, okay? So that you have access to recovery 24 hours a day. Even if you cannot reach out to someone, if you have 24 hours clean, you are able to raise your hand and share in these meetings. They're well moderated, so I believe it's a safe space. And some people that I know that got clean in um, the Zoom platform of the 24/7 NA meeting that I do service work in. They're still clean, and they're doing service work now as hosting or chairing the meetings as well. And I know some people that when they first got started, and they're still doing it today, they have the meeting on in the background like the radio or television would be on. They have recovering voices and discussions going on in the background. And for some people, you can't sleep with that extra, in the background. But for some of them, they really enjoy having it on and going to sleep to it and waking up to it. It sets their evening and it sets their pace for waking up, right? For me personally, the only thing that I want to hear when I'm going to bed is the spirit of God speaking to my spirit about giving me um, the land of milk and honey, right? So that's the only thing that I'm really trying to connect with is my higher power first thing in the morning. But I do get on pretty early for my meetings. So I just want to tell you that is always available to you. And I will share those two links with you. Now, with no further ado, as I indicated, today is March 13th. Today is March 13th. Wow, 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 wow. Today is March 13th of 2022, and I'm going to do the Just for Today with you. Today is a special day. So let's get right into this and let me share my screen. Yeah, this is the only way. Showing my face is the only way that I'm able to actually use my backdrop. That's so crazy. Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Again, my name is MightyStream. Today is March 13th, and I want to share the Just for the Day in a meditation with you. I'll be taking some breaks to drink coffee. My throat is really rough today. Okay. The title of this one is That One Special Person. I'm about to say, I already know where this one is headed. Okay. Here's the quote. It says, a sponsor is not necessarily a friend, but maybe someone in whom we confide. We can share things with our sponsor that we might not be comfortable sharing in a meeting. Tricky right there, right? We can share things with our sponsor that we might not be comfortable sharing in a meeting. IP number 11, sponsorship revised. Okay, here's what it says. We've asked someone to sponsor us, and the reasons we have for asking that particular person are as many as the grains of sand on a beach. Perhaps we heard them share at a speaker meeting and thought they were funny or inspiring. Perhaps we thought they had a great car and we would get one by working the same program they work. Or maybe we live in a small town and they were the only person who had the time available to help. Whatever our initial reasons for getting the sponsor we have, we're sure to find that our reasons for keeping them are quite different. Suddenly, they'll amaze us with some stunning insight, making us wonder whether they've been sneaking peeks at our fourth step. Or maybe we're going through some sort of life crisis and their experience with the same problem helps us in ways we never dreamed possible. We call them in pain, and they come up with a special combination of caring words that provide genuine comfort. None of these remarkable feats on the part of our sponsor are mere coincidence. They simply walk the same path before us. A higher power has placed that one special person in our lives, and we are grateful for their presence. Just for today, I will appreciate that one special person in my life, my sponsor. Oh, that's cute. I like that one. I like that one. Sponsorship. So basically, this particular reading, and I do generally give the sponsorship IP as an assignment, as a task for whoever I'm sponsoring to look at and to make sure that they have a clear understanding of what sponsorship is before we go too much further. Because even though I'm friendly, I am not really of the set mind that I have to be a friend of a sponsee. Now, if they're an individual that vibes and they're reaching out and want to network like that, I'm very open to that. But I don't get my feelings offended if the only time you call is when you're having a problem or you're ready to do some step work. I don't have a problem with that. I'm not. I don't feel the need to be the answer when it comes to sponsoring individuals. And I don't use my sponsor that way either. I have a couple ladies that one is what I call lifetime sponsor. So even though they're not in my general local area, I trust their input in my life holistically. Like this person can speak to me about anything and I trust them. So when I talk about them, I call them my lifetime sponsor and they are in the fellowship of NA. Now, my other sponsor, we're quite, we're similar, we're similar in the sense of how we sponsor people. Um, but our relationship is more of an even relationship. There was a time where I was doing like the work as far as connecting with her, reaching out to her, and then I just saw a pattern, a pattern of being very laid back when it came to my issues compared to newcomers or people that hadn't been around as long. My sponsor, let me think. I think my sponsor only has like maybe 3 months more than I do. So I'm going on my 29th year. My sponsor is going on her 29th year as well. So she will hit her 29th year 3 months before I hit my 29th year. So our level of recovery, I want to say, is very similar. And some of the things that we have experienced are similar as well. My sponsor, when I'm in touch with her and I'm talking to her about, say, issues that I'm having, I want to stop sharing issues that I am personally having. Um, the very first thing I think that I'm used to her saying is, "What step are you working on?" And she's not talking about what step am I writing on. She's talking about what step do I believe is applicable in this particular situation. And then she wants me to expound from a spiritual principle point of view of how I'm perceiving the issue because we're both educated as well, right? We both have higher education. Um, she already has her master's actually. So we both have that piece as well. So there's some discussions that we have that lean more towards psychiatry and counseling, right? That lean that way. But generally speaking, before we even get to that, my sponsor wants to know, how are you seeing this how are you relating to this from the point of view of spiritual principles within the steps? And then I expound on that, and then she gives me feedback. I believe our relationship is smooth as butter, right? I wouldn't change my sponsor for anything in the world, and I'm very grateful for my sponsor. I've grown up in recovery, right? So has she. So the neediness is not there. And it's a very healthy give and take. I don't want to say friendship, but it's a healthy give and take relationship because my sponsor definitely has friends in recovery, loves to travel, loves conventions and things like that. And she has a tendency to, the people that are her friends, she keeps in touch with them every day, right? I don't make that list. I think I could easily see her as a friend because of how I do friendship. My definition of friendship is that person that you can be honest with and sit down and talk to. And no matter how long it's been, it feels like you never left their presence, right? So the way that I do friendship, I probably could say she's a friend because I relate to her like I would a friend, right? Deep discussions, comfortability. But as far as what I see, my sponsors, how she has friends and who her friends are, is very, very different. Her friends she talks to every day and she travels with them, right? Um, had I not asked her to be my sponsor, I think we probably would have become good friends, right? But I would not call my sponsor. That's weird to me because I was just thinking about something that she said when she introduced me. I think maybe that was because of the introduction. She said, "This is my special friend, MightyStream," and she said she doesn't like to use the word sponsee because she feels like it's putting her in a position of higher than, and she doesn't like to use that terminology. So I think that's different. Um, and not too different, because it says here we can share things with our sponsor that we might not be comfortable sharing in a meeting. And the title of this is That One Special Person. So her using that terminology is it seems very to me it seems genuine, and I feel like it's acceptable, right? It doesn't bother me what she calls me. It doesn't bother me what she calls me. So I'm interested in hearing like where you're at with your sponsor, how that relationship looks to you. What were the things that drew you to your sponsor? And what are the things that keep you in that sponsorship relationship? Recently, I've had some sponsees that it wasn't like I ended our interaction, like I just stopped being their sponsor. But I was able to see that the contact is always initiated by me, which I don't mind. But if you've asked me to be your sponsor, then you need to know at some point in time, I'm going to question you as to what you think is going on. Because seriously, even though it's a two-way street, it's not my responsibility to be in touch with my sponsees, right? Um, and if you are, when we're talking, you're never bringing up the topic of spiritual principles and step work, like you talking to me like I'm your girlfriend on the bus, right? If you are showing me that you really want a friend and you don't have the readiness, right? You don't have the readiness to do the work, then I peep that. And I may mention it here and there, but I really believe that there's no reason for me to turn down an individual that is asking me to sponsor them. I really believe that because over a period of time, shortly, not like it don't take months, months, and months, but within a short period of time, I'm able to see what their initial intention was, right? The proof is in the pudding. So if you are a person that when we're connected or talking, you're just talking to me like a girlfriend sitting on the bus or on the couch, and you're very comfortable with me, but you never bring up the topic of, can I do my first step, or should I get started, or do you have anything you want me to do? Right? If you don't ever bring that up, I peep game. Right. And I might say, well, and typically within my first couple interactions with the sponsee, I will say, do you have the flat book? Do you have the green and gold flat book? The step working guide? Do you have the basic text? And do you have It Works How and Why? The short green and gold black book, not the spiritual guiding principles, not the living clean. Those are newer publications that came out that have serious value to them. But if you're just starting out, I want to know, do you have those three? And I may ask you, do you have the Just for the Day meditation? If you don't have those, I'll probably give you a link that will allow you to look at PDF files. One lady, she went as far as to print all that stuff, but she never did her steps with me. And I've reached out to her repeatedly. Like, you see me in meetings on a regular basis and you don't ever bring up your step work. Like, you printed the whole book. So one or two things, because when I listen to her share, I can tell that she is busy doing some kind of spiritual principle work. I think she found another sponsor and she doesn't know how to say that. And I don't say I could care less, but I'm saying that I invested some energy into you and this was our understanding, and you don't have the consideration to let me know that you've moved on. But I've always said that you will let me know. If there's a disconnect, you will let me know that it's not working for you, right? And I just believe that she found another sponsor and never said anything to me. And does that disturb me to some degree? But also, I always tell my sponsees, If it's not working for you, I prefer that you let me know before you go on and get another sponsor. But if it's not working for you, what you need to know is MightyStream is not going to lose any sleep over it. I'm not going to weep because that sponsorship relationship didn't work. Because I think a lot of times people stagnate their growth worrying about the feelings of their sponsor. Um, I had this one lady that her life is very chaotic, and I've been dealing with chaotic for a long time, right? And our last deep discussion was that I'm not doing chaotic with you anymore. So a couple things jumped off after I made that comment. The first thing that jumped off, I was real hesitant, right? The second time something jumped off, it just snowballed into this huge thing. Um, and I just said, I don't have the time for that. You already know what it is. I don't have the time for that, right? So depending on who you're working with and what's going on will determine the friendship portion, the friendship portion. I had one lady, and this is just me reminiscing. I'm not putting any names to it, and I don't think any of the people that I'm discussing will ever happen to even hear this video. Um, but there was one lady, she's in active addiction now, and her close friends, these are her close friends, um, used to come down on her about considering me a friend. I mean, she called me every day and sometimes a couple times a day. Um, but the people in her immediate vicinity of recovery, the people she hung out with, went to dances with, they really shamed her about having her sponsor as a friend. And I think that it wasn't even so much her sponsor, but they shamed her about having me as a friend because I really feel like there was some dissonance between these individuals and myself because of just their lifestyle that they carried in the fellowship, and still to this day their lifestyle that they live, right? In general, with sexual behavior, right? It's not recovering to me. And this particular lady really struggled in that area. And I felt that she was always chasing behind these particular women to look like them and to feel like she thought they looked, right? She was judging um, her insides by their outsides. And it just proved to be detrimental. I remember having the discussion with her and I told her, I said, I'm not your friend. I'm not your friend. And she looked at me like, how could you say that? And I said, no, what you need to let them know is that when we're talking to each other, when we're talking to each other, you and I are always talking about spiritual principles. We are always talking about your step work. Girl, you are on your 10th step. You need to let them know that our interaction is like butter because we put the effort in. It is a two-way street. Right? I hear from you every day, and that makes me want to reach out back to you. But every time we're interacting, we're talking about what you're encountering and how you can stay clean in the midst of that with the principles of the 12 steps. And point blank, when I think about her relapsing, one, I know COVID-19 has something to do with it because she's a very social butterfly, right? But I also think that the people in her immediate circle shamed her for having that level of contact with her sponsor, right? And she would pull back and I would notice it, but I wouldn't let that be the end of it. I would reach out. And I just got to the point where she was reaching out less and less and less and hanging out with them more and more and more, right? I could see Facebook parties and stuff, NA parties and stuff. I was just like, that makes no sense that you would let someone dictate to you, and you further along in your step work than they are, right? Dictate to you how you interact with your sponsors. So I think that she made a choice and she chose wrong, because eventually um, all of that fruit of having worked those steps with a sponsor disappeared. And then COVID-19 hit. And because she was such a social butterfly, it took her, it took her out. And so that's kind of my piece on it. I'm not a person, I'm not really into trying to label sponsorship relationships as friendships. But I am into what you want to do about your problem and how can I help. And I think that any sponsor should be about that. Right. I hope that if you don't have a sponsor, that you get a sponsor. I hope that if you have a sponsor and things aren't working, that you understand with the help of maybe someone else that you trust why they're not working. And once you try to improve whatever needs to be improved on your side of the street, if it's still not working, then move on. I'm a very busy lady, right? I'm a very busy lady. Every phone call that comes in, I don't necessarily take. I don't necessarily take because I already know on the other end of the phone. I don't have an hour right now to sit while you in ER, right? I don't have, I already know on the other end of the phone what to expect if it's a sponsee. And I may not have the time, but I will always respond. I will always respond. I think like one of my weaknesses when it comes to sponsorship is time management, right? Time management. Um, it's very difficult to lock me down to let's sit down and just do this step. I'm more of a person, let's sit down and do the step, but we don't necessarily have to complete the step, right? When we're covering it, because I think that to cover someone's, say their fourth step, oh my goodness, there's so many questions, right? So to cover that fourth step in one setting when they're doing their fifth step, I think that that's complicated. And I'm a person that why if we're committed to this relationship and it took you however long it took you to even do the step, then I don't believe that I need to rush it all in one setting, because not only am I looking at your answers and listening to you respond, I'm watching you more than anything. And my emotional IQ is very high. So I can generally tell if you change what you're saying to me based on what you wrote, you're switching it up because some time has passed and now you have a different perspective, or you just lying. Right. And so I think that it's important that everyone has that one special person in their life. Listen, I've really enjoyed your company. I got some other things on the table this morning that I want to focus on. And I just want to tell you that if no one told you today, got two things I want to say. If no one has told you today that they love you, I love you. I do. I love you. The the third tradition in the guiding spirit, the spiritual principles, the guiding principles, the spirit of our traditions. In the opening for the third tradition, right, where the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using, it talks about the fellowship. Because our membership is secure, we can actually be who we are. Look it up. Look it up in the opening page of the third tradition. And so when I say I love you, I can say it from a place where I realized that when I came into the rooms, I was not sound, right? I wasn't sure-footed, and I had a lot of behaviors that were inappropriate. And even though I probably should have been put out of the building a couple of times because of my fighting behavior, I was always welcomed back, always. And I want you to know that that is important for us because we are people that sometimes we judge our value on how we feel people are receiving us or not receiving us, right? That triangle of self obsession is at play. That triangle of self obsession is that anger, fear, and resentment, right? And so what happens is that in the IP it says that babies they learn that when they cry, their needs are met. The thing with recovering addicts is that we don't ever really grow beyond that stage of needing our needs to be met and not knowing how to do it on our own. So a lot of times that seeking approval is still a component of our personality. People pleasing is a character defect based out of fear, right? Of rejection. And so when we do the work and we have the spiritual principles of the steps and we have the help of a special person in our life to guide us through that, we get to the point where we are not self sufficient. No man is an island, right? And self sufficiency is a lie. But for some of those things that we looked outward for affirmation and approval, we learn how to go inward and get it. We learn how to do the work and get it. And we begin to manifest our contentment, right? Our peacefulness, our ability to love ourselves, right? And so, in a positive way. So, I don't know. I could go on and on and on about sponsorship. I could talk all day about, step work and principles, spiritual principles. But I just want to encourage you and tell you that I think you're amazing. Thanks for joining me. And I will see you tomorrow. Make it a beautiful day. The second thing I want to point out is that Brandon Montclair Kelly, this would have been his birthday. And I want to say that I think he would be 33 years old. I think we've been without him for 2 years now. I want to say 2 years. So he would either be 32. I think he would be 33 years old today. And wow, I am amazed at the tenacity of my family members that have survived his brutal murder, which still remains unsolved in the city of Kalamazoo, Michigan. That is crazy to me that his murderer is still somewhere doing the same things that they did that particular night. They shot him 8 times. I think it's tragic. I think it's tragic that we don't have an answer. And I want to say to gun violence victims or people that have been impacted by gun violence, I want to say to you, hold on. Hold on. Don't quit. Don't give up. Don't pull back. Don't stop praying. Most importantly, try not to use any mind or mood altering drug. Focus, focus, focus. Because your one more phone call to the detectives, your one more question about what happened that night, your one more mention of what happened, how you were impacted by gun violence, could be the very thing that saves another person, that saves yourself, and that finds the answers that you need. A lot of times people can only carry their guilt for so long. And what happens is if the person that perpetrated this crime has not been brought to justice, A lot of times, justice has a way of finding them through their mind. And they end up doing things or saying things that alert others to the fact that they are guilty and they are the perpetrator. So I have not lost faith that his murderer will be brought to justice. I'm just disappointed when I see other cases being solved, and this one seems to be just another case that we can't figure out. So yeah, that part I don't like, but I am not going to use over it. I'm going to continue to press in on things that Brandon know I was about, right? My last discussion with him was about making a decision to do something different and me letting him be free to do what you want to do, but you're not free to bring it to my doorstep. Right. So my discussion with him was kind of a difficult discussion. And I miss that smile. I miss those phone calls. And he was struggling, but it seemed like he always tried to keep it light and easy. He was comical. Right. So anyway, I just want to take the time to acknowledge my nephew, and I want to acknowledge my family out there. I know that today is not an easy day, but I want you to know that Mighty Stream is praying for you. I believe in you. And with that, I will see you tomorrow.